Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy team selection, this time out of Matchday 12, the second leg of the semi-finals. We're approaching the end game. I want to see your thoughts in terms of predictions for the second leg for both matches. I did get the first leg right between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, even the first team to score, Vinicius to be player of the match. So that's one of the few times that everything for a prediction has gone spot on. I even put the booster on it as well, but I'm hoping to get things right for the second leg, and of course our team selections for UCL Fantasy with free transfers. There's a few things to consider. I'll be talking about everything you need to know for Matchday 12 in this video and podcast, as well as the injury updates and suspensions. Smash the like button and subscribe for new if you haven't already. Let's get this to over 200 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 25k subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. Check all the other links like the Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, Draft Hound, Amazon and Spotify. Follow me on those platforms and leave a 5-star review as well. Without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. I scored 72 points in matchday 11 and that was enough to secure a green arrow, and one of the biggest difference makers was the captaincy. I went for Vinicius Jr. who scored a brace. He was my highest scoring player, so I got that absolutely spot on, and there were points across the board. A few transfers did flop, like Kim Min-jae. He got a lot of ball recoveries as expected, but he conceded a penalty and got booked. He had a disaster class against Real Madrid and he was probably at fault for both goals, conceding the penalty and also being spun by Vinicius Jr. and leaving an empty gap behind him. But Lunin did blank as well. He considered twice to Bayern Munich and I didn't expect a clean sheet here, but Lunin has been great for me all season. Maatsen and Hummels kept a clean sheet and Hummels got the player of the match award, although I feel it was undeserved as Jadon Sancho was the star of the show, but I'll take it. A 12-pointer by Hummels, who is by far the best defender in UCL Fantasy. I bought Hakimi, who blanked. He got a 3-pointer and was also constantly exposed against Borussia Dortmund, his former club, but I still think he's a good purchase for matchday 12 and PSG still have a good chance of reaching the Champions League final. Maatsen did get booked, by the way, but the ball recoveries did make up for it a little bit. And Schlotterbeck was another one who got 10 points with an assist and plenty of ball recoveries. Julian Brandt and Sabitzer was quite underwhelming, and Sabitzer missed 2 big chances. He really should have scored a few goals in that game and he was very disappointing. And Jadon Sancho, despite playing much better than the other two, only got 1 more point due to ball recoveries. Leroy Sané was one of my transfers. I was actually deliberating on this because he's had a pretty awful season. He didn't score since November, but that was a bullet shot against Real Madrid to equalise, and Bayern Munich were very impressive in that period of the match. They went 2-1 up shortly afterwards, and Leroy Sané has those magic moments in him. As for Zaire Emery, he's been very underwhelming in this calendar year. He was great for me in the group stages, but not so much in the knockouts so far. I still think he's a good option though, considering his price. And as for the front three, apart from Vinicius, Harry Kane scored a penalty and Mbappe blanked. So there were a few blanks in there, but Vinicius's captaincy, also going for the likes of Sane as my transfers, going for Maatsen and Hummels as a defensive double up for Dortmund, all of that worked in my favour. And going into the second leg, I've got a solid foundation with 13 available players and 3 free transfers. But Julian Brandt hasn't started a single away match in this season's Champions League. Kim Min-jae might not even start, but De Ligt, Dyer and Upamecano all have problems. Upamecano was in the squad over the weekend, but Eric Dyer has a head injury. De Ligt is still nursing an issue from a week ago, so that could be a concern. I think my defensive line still needs a bit of work. I'll talk about that very soon. But before I discuss my transfer plans, let me show you my team selection without making any transfers for matchday 12. Lunin is currently my only goalkeeper, but I'll be making a transfer to have an option, either Donnarumma or Kobel, for the Tuesday, and to maximise my points potential with the substitutions. I'm going for Maatsen, Hakimi and Hummels as the back three, with Bellingham, Zaire Emery, Sabitzer, Brandt, and then up front, Kane, Vinicius and Mbappe, which is very template, but it is template for a reason. I've also got Sane and Kim Min-jae on the bench, and I could bring them on if needed. Ruben Dias and Oblak are of course eliminated, and I'll be using my free transfers to upgrade those positions as well. And in terms of the captaincy, my current plan is to captain Mbappe on the Tuesday, and on the Wednesday there are plenty of options like Harry Kane, Vinicius, Bellingham and Rodrigo. I think those are the best choices. Vinicius would be my preference difference there. But Mbappe will be my Tuesday captain, and if he doesn't deliver, I will switch it to Vinicius. A question I'm asked very commonly at this stage of the competition is, how many points would Mbappe need, or your Tuesday captain need, for you to stick with it? And I think 6-7 points would be enough. I'm not going to be greedy at this stage of the competition. If it was the group stages, then fair enough, or the round of 16 with 4 captaincy opportunities. But at this stage, I think it's very difficult to even score a goal and to get 6-7 points on the board, and that's why that would be enough to stick with the armband. I was very fortunate to have Vinicius score a brace and put the captaincy beyond doubt last week as well. Let me now show you my transfer plans, which is definitely flexible, and I could change a few details by the deadline stream on the Tuesday. My original plans were to buy Kobel for Oblak, as well as Carvajal and Marquinhos in the back line, and to sell Kim Min-jae and Ruben Dias, and to make no moves whatsoever in the midfield and forward line. But one thing I could change is to actually keep Kim Min-jae and instead sell Julian Brandt, who hasn't started a single away game this season in this competition, and to maybe make a move to a Jadon Sancho, a Valverde. That's something else I am considering. Let me know what you prefer, to replace Julian Brandt or Kim Min-jae. But to sell Oblak and Ruben Dias, that's just common sense at this point. And buying Marquinhos and Kobel is fairly locked in, although I could buy Donnarumma and fully load up on Paris Saint-Germain, which only limitless players will be able to do. I don't think those in the wild card would be that keen to do so, and especially those with free transfers who might be struggling to even get to a 15-man squad in the first place. The captaincy is already covered, and the transfer plans seem quite simple. I will buy a PSG defender or Donnarumma in goal at the very least, perhaps even both, but I personally think Kobel is the best goalkeeper in UCL Fantasy this season. To round things off in this video and podcast, I'll be covering all the latest injury updates and suspensions. So if you aren't aware, all the yellow cards will reset in Matchday 11, and the only way a player will miss out the Champions League final is if they get a red card in Matchday 12. As for suspended players, there are none whatsoever. Carvajal has just returned from suspension. He was unavailable in Matchday 11. As for injury updates, Eric Dyer, as I alluded to earlier, has a head injury and he could be back for that clash with Real Madrid. Guerreiro is out for the rest of the season and he's a doubt for the Euros with a ligament injury. De Ligt has a knee problem and that's being assessed day to day. Kingsley Coman and Sacha Boey are still major doubts and will probably not start in this game against Real Madrid. As for Sarr and Bookman, they are out for the rest of the season. Real Madrid have no major injury concerns, but David Alaba was the only player who didn't train. Borussia Dortmund have Adeyemi, who's a fresh injury concern with a knock, and that's being assessed day to day. Sebastian Haller, Duranville and Bensabani are still out with the same injury that I discussed in the last team selection video and podcast. And as for Paris Saint-Germain, Lucas Hernandez sustained a problem against Borussia Dortmund and it was an ACL injury, so he will be out until early January, so that's 7-8 months with an injury. That is a major concern. Kurzawa, Kimpembe and Sergio Rico are all out, and you wouldn't expect them to really feature that much in the Champions League in Matchday 12 and possibly 13 if PSG reach the Champions League final. So that's pretty much everything you need to know. No suspended players, some fresh injury concerns like Eric Dyer and also Guerreiro. There's a lot to think about with our free transfers, and if you have the wildcard or limitless, I'd highly recommend using it now. And as I've said a lot in the last few weeks, I do think the limitless isn't as valuable because you can easily build a 50-man squad with the best players possible and have a lot of money left in the bank. I mean, look at that. I've got 3.7 million left over, and I have built up a lot of team value, to be fair, but it's still very easy to basically make the limitless quite worthless at this stage of the competition. If you were to use that chip this week, I'd highly recommend checking out my best limitless team video and podcast and piling up on certain teams. In that particular video, I go for Paris Saint-Germain and a lot of options from that team in the midfield, defensive line, and even the goalkeeper. Thank you very much for watching this video and listen to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this to over 200 likes on YouTube and let's keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers and beyond. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, Draft Town, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Follow me on those platforms and leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 12 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.